Hello and welcome to Petrus Tech. Today we are going to be doing, similarly to the last episode, setting up a Kubernetes environment. However, this time we are going to be setting up a Kubernetes cluster, a 3-node cluster, and we're going to be using NixOS. If you haven't heard of NixOS before, it is a distribution. It's a distribution and a environment that you can add to your machine. But it uses declarative configuration to configure the system as well as install packages and whatnot. Basically, the entire state of the system is kept in configuration files. So, like, let's say you wanted to install a web server, you don't go to the command line and then say, install this web server. You actually edit a configuration file to say, I want this package to be installed, say Nginx or something. And then you apply that configuration to the system, and then it becomes installed as part of that process. So what this allows you to do is basically, other than the data that's on the system, the actual configuration of the system, you back up the configuration files. And then if you want to replicate that system, you just apply those configuration files to a new system. So we'll be doing that today as part of the setup of these clusters. So the 3 clusters are mainly going to have more or less the same configuration with slight tweaks between them. So we'll see how this goes. So first you'll want to download NixOS. You can go here to nixos.org and click download. As usual, I already have this image on my cluster here. So I don't need to go download that right now. So we can go ahead and get started with the new virtual machine. So we're going to go here and create a VM. We'll name this, we're going to first do the master. So we'll name this cube master. And we'll go next. ISO image, NixOS, next. Here I want to change the BIOS to EFI. I can uncheck this. Change machine type to Q35. It's not really necessary, but I like using it. And we'll hit next. Disk size, we'll change this to 128. And then format to RAW. RAW I've seen performs better. And we'll enable discard and SSD emulation on here. CPU sockets, let's see, we'll do 2. And then next. And then here we can do 4096. So 4 gigabytes of memory. And then leave that alone. And we'll hit finish. We're not going to need them yet, but let's go ahead and set up the other 2 clusters. So here we'll name this cube node 1. And we're going to set it up exactly the same as the other ones. So UEFI, Q35, 128. These don't have to be exactly the same. They can be different. You're free to set up whatever you want or whatever you have available. And one more. So this one's going to be cube node 2. NixOS. All right, so let's go ahead and start up the master node. We'll go ahead and we're already on here, 100 cube master. We'll go ahead and click start, and we'll bring up the console. And we'll go ahead and enter for going into the installer. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and switch to the root account, and we'll go ahead and set a password. Because we're going to be editing configuration file as well as pasting stuff from the wiki here, it'll be easier if we go pull up the console and go SSH into here. So let's see. So we want to, well, we need to figure out the IP address of this too. All right, so we've got 103. So we're going to go SSH root at 192.168.42.103. And we'll hit yes. And then type in the password that we just set. All right, so now we're in here. So if we go look at the hard drive, so this is going to be kind of like Arch in the beginning. You need to partition your hard drive. There may be a way to automatically do this, but this is the way the wiki tells you to do it anyway. So we're going to go do here parted dev SDA. Again, basically similar to what we're doing with Arch. So we'll do make label GPT, and then we'll make an EFI partition, make part 1 megabyte. We'll make it 128 megabytes like I normally do. And then we'll make another partition for everything else, starting at 129 megabytes and expanding the rest of the disk. And then we'll set the ESP on for partition 1. That tells some BIOSes that it's the ESP partition, although in most cases it doesn't really matter. And then we'll go ahead and quit. And we want to make the file system, so we'll just make this easy and use ext4. And then that's going to be dev SDA2, since that's the partition we're installing everything on. And then we also want to make a vfat, or format the first partition as FAT32. So make fs vfat f32 dev SDA1. Then we'll go ahead and mount this. So mount dev SDA2 to mount. And then make the directory mount boot EFI, and then mount dev SDA1 to that. All right, so now we need to tell NixOS to go ahead and create a configuration file for here. So we want to do NixOS, generate config, and then what do we want to do here? Root, yep. So we want to do root, and then our new root is going to be /mount. All right. So if we go look at here, if we go look at mount etc NixOS hardware configuration, you can see this has basically your file system mounts and some other information for booting the machine, but not the bootloader itself. That's all going to be in the configuration.nix file. So that we're actually going to go ahead and edit. So here we import your hardware configuration. Here, I'm going to use grub. I don't like system deboot. So we're not going to enable that. So let's see. So we can remove that comment, and we'll remove that line to enable that. And can touch, I like installing things, or I like installing the EFI bootloader is removable, so we'll change that to false. And then I had some options pulled up here, so if we do, we'll have to change the mount point, so we can change here, boot.loader.efi sys mount point equals boot EFI. That's where I mounted the EFI partition. And then we want to set up grub. So we'll go look up the grub options here. And some of this is in, you might be able to find a tutorial for this. So if we go back here and we go just search for grub, Here we go. So here's some information on how you can do this. So let's see, we want boot.loader.grub.efi support equals true. Boot.loader.grub.device equals no dev. It automatically figures out the boot EFI directory because we're not installing directly on a device anyway. That's for the old legacy boot. I believe we also want to tell it to enable. I think this wiki was written when grub was the default. So I think there's an enable. Yep, bootloader grub enable. Boot.loader.grub enable equals true. And then there should be another entry in here for the EFI variables. EFI install is removable. That's what we want. So we'll go ahead and paste that in here. Equals true. So that should be it for the bootloader. Let's see, we want to set the host name. So we're looking at the kube master. So we'll name it kube master. Set your time zone. I'm in Arizona, so I'll set America/Phoenix. So we're not going to use DHCP. We're not going to use DHCP here either. So here we need to check what our interface name is. So if we do IP ADDR, ENP6S18, okay, I guess it must have gotten that from the system when it created it. So use DHCP equals false, and we want to do static network configuration. So let's go look for how to do static network configuration. Okay, this isn't quite what I was looking for, but it should have enough information in here for this. So here we want to set, we want to go ahead and set the default gateway and name servers. So we'll do networking.default gateway equals 192. So this is my network here. So 192.168.42.1, and then networking.name servers. Here we're going to copy and paste the same thing. Okay, and then we need to set the addresses. So networking.interfaces.emp6s18.ipv4.addresses. Address is going to be 192.168.42.20, and then the prefix length is 24, like normal networks. All right, so we've got the default gateway, we've got the name server, we've got the addresses, we've got DHCP disabled. I think that's it. That's all we need to do for network. We'll go ahead and save this for now. We don't need to set a console key map or anything like that. We don't want to enable printing. We don't need sound. I'm just going to stick with the root user for here, so we're not going to add any additional users. All right, so here for packages, we want to install a couple things. So first, I like using Nano, so let's install Nano. Curl is a good thing to have. wget is already here. We don't need Firefox. Nano, curl, wget. What else should we possibly put in here? That's probably fine for now. Don't need any SUID wrappers. We do want to enable SSH, so we'll enable that. And then also we want to disable the firewall. Mainly, I find the firewall overkill for this, so especially since Kubernetes is going to be open to a lot of ports anyway. So you're not going to be listening on anything you don't want open for the most part. So that's it for the main configuration file. So now we also want Kubernetes. So here we have an example for Kubernetes, and we have example for configuration for your master file here. So what we're going to do, it says add to your configuration.nix, but with the way they list this here, it really should be a separate file. So we'll go copy this, and then now we're going to do, let's edit this as kubernetes.nix. And we'll go ahead and paste all this in here. So the master IP is going to be the same as the network IP we used in the configuration file. So 192.168.42.20. And the host name is going to be kube-master. So we've got port 6443. We're installing these additional packages: Compose, kubectl, and Kubernetes. The master is going to have both the roles master and node. That way we can run stuff on it. And we're not going to change any of this here, and we're not going to have any swaps. We're just going to go ahead and remove this bottom part right here. And then one other thing that I want to change is the networking. So if we go look at here, so it's going to use flannel by default, and we want to change the backend. So here we want services.flannel.backend, and we'll go look at the Kubernetes website here in a minute to show you why we're changing this. I found that VXLAN does not work well, at the very least with Proxmox, so that's why we're changing it. Type so we want to change VXLAN to, I think it's host-gateway, so Kubernetes networking VXLAN. Let's go look at this. Cluster networking. Okay, anyway, I wanted to find the actual Kubernetes article where it showed you all the differences here. But what we're going to do, which just seems to, let's see. So the recommended choice is virtual extensible LAN, which runs layer 2 on top of layer 3 infrastructure. It also supports host gateway. So the disadvantage with host gateway is you have to be on the same layer 2 network, whereas VXLAN you can be on the same, you don't have to be in the same network segment. It can be in a different routed network. But we're setting these all up on the same network, so we're going to use host gateway. Again, I don't know what it is with Proxmox, but it seems to not like VXLAN for whatever reason. So here we'll put host gateway. All right, and then we're going to go back and edit the original configuration file, and we're going to add the Kubernetes file to this. All right, so now, assuming that we've typed everything correctly, we should be able to go ahead and install NixOS now. So all we should have to do is type in NixOS install, and it should set up everything for us. So right now it's going through the configuration file, building it, and making sure that everything that we've set in there is correct. Or not necessarily correct, but syntactically correct. Right now it's installing packages, it looks like. All right, now it's asking for the root password. So not the root password, but we're setting what we want the root password to be. So we'll go ahead and type a root password now. All right, now the installation is finished. So we should just be able to reboot into our system now. So if we hit reboot, so I'll get disconnected from here. If we go back to Proxmox, we should be restarting here. So yep, NixOS default. We'll just let it go ahead and time out here and boot. All right, so we're in here. We should be able to SSH into here now. So if you know, we changed the IP address to .20. Yes. Might have to enable root logins. Yep. So let's go ahead and log in here. And we'll go ahead and edit the, actually no, we can't edit the configuration file. We have to go set it in here. So if we go look at OpenSSH, we should have a option to allow root login, permit root login. Here we go. So see, as you can see, the default permit root login is prohibit password. So we're just going to copy this. And this just shows you how easy it is to change the configuration file in here. So we're going to go nano etc NixOS configuration. And we'll find where we're enabling SSH. So we do services.openssh. What was it? Permit root login. And we'll just type in yes. And then we do NixOS rebuild and switch, which will automatically switch to the new configuration once we rebuild. And it's going to go ahead and change everything for us, as well as restart services and whatnot that need to be done. All right, now we should be able to SSH into it. There we go. So now, if we go back and look at the Kubernetes wiki, what do we need to do? So now we need to link our Kubernetes configuration. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we need to make the directory.kube first, apparently. And then if we go ahead and run this, kubectl cluster info, we should be all started up. Yep. All right, so as you can see, we have kubemaster, status is ready, and it's all running. So now we need to go set up our second server. So let me go ahead and exit out of this. So node 1, we're going to go ahead and start it up. All right, we're going to go ahead and start the installer again. All right, so we're all started up. Similar to last time, we're going to go ahead and change to root and set the password. And here we've got the IP address 104. So we're going to do SSH 192.168.42.104. And we want to use the root account. Yes. All right, so we're in here again. So what we're going to do this time, so let's go ahead and set up the drive. So we should have the same SDA. Yep, parted dev SDA. I'll go ahead and make label GPT like last time. Make part 1 megabyte, 129 megabytes. And then print. That looks good. So make fs. All right, and then mount these. All right, so we have the same configuration files again, and we're going to go ahead and edit the regular configuration file. And just to show you, so we're going to delete everything in this file. And then we're going to go to the first system that we set up and cat that configuration. And we're just going to copy and paste it. All right, so here we just need to change the host name. So this one we're naming KubeNode 1, basically changing all the things you would normally change as part of a new system. So here we can use address 21, same network configuration, and the rest of this should be exactly the same. Permit root login, yep, all exactly the same. We're going to leave Kubernetes.next in there because we're going to go ahead and create that too. And then, so let's go ahead and save that. Oh, one thing that we forgot to do. It's not in this wiki here. Oh yeah, it is, networking.extrahosts. But it's not quite right. So we're going to change this slightly. So let's go back actually to the master one real quick, and we'll go ahead and edit etc NixOS Kubernetes. So this needs to change. So we are going to make this multi-line, and we're just going to get rid of this. So here we're going to do kube master is going to be 192.168.42.20. Oh, so what we're setting here is this is basically host file entries. So each of the Kubernetes servers needs to know the IP address of all the other Kubernetes servers. It doesn't get that from Kubernetes itself. Everything basically goes by host name. So each one has to know, each server needs to know what the IP is of the other ones. So we'll go ahead and put them all in here right now. So we're going to use 21 and 22, and we'll name this node 1 and node 2. Yep. So master is going to be .20, node 1 is going to be .21, and node 2 is going to be .22. So if we go ahead and save this, and we'll do another apply. NixOS rebuild, switch. All right, well that's running. We need to go edit the Kubernetes configuration file over here. And we're going to go copy the node configuration this time instead of the master configuration. So we'll copy that. We'll paste that here. And again, we'll change some of this stuff. So like the kube master IP again is 192.168.42.20, and it's going to be kube-master. And this tutorial is also slightly off. The port's supposed to be 6443, but for some reason it's just 443 in the tutorial. So here are the extra hosts. We're going to go get that from, actually now since this is done, let's just go look at cat etc hosts. Yep, so now we have kubemaster, kunode1, and kunode2 listed in here like it's supposed to be. So let's do cat etc NixOS Kubernetes, and we're going to copy this extra host part into the configuration file for this one. And then packages are fine. All this is fine, except we're going to remove the extra options again, like we did last time. And then we also need to add that same flannel configuration. So we'll copy this, paste it in here, get rid of the extra space. And this should be good. Let me just do another once over. All right, so we'll save this. And let's go look at the configuration one more time. So we've got that. We've got the bootloader, kunode1. We've got the IP address changed. Got the regular packages. We've got OpenSSH configured, firewall, and system state version. That's good. Okay. So now we should just be able to run, again, the install command, just like the other one. And now we'll just wait for this to finish. Actually, no, we don't need to wait for this to install. We'll go ahead and get the other one ready while we're waiting. So let's go ahead and boot up node 2. And we'll start the installer again. All right, so again, we'll do the exact same thing with this machine. Actually, we want to enable SSH, so password. And this is 105. Uh, 192.168.42.105. All right, so we do parted dev SDA, and then same thing. That's good. All right, so we have the configuration file here. Well, let's go back to this one. So we're setting the root password. There we go. So this one's done. But before we restart, I want to get the configuration from here. So we'll do cat mount etc NixOS configuration. And then just like the last one, we're just going to copy and paste this into the new system. Oop, nope, wrong file. We just want regular configuration, not hardware configuration. So again, we're just deleting everything in this file, pasting it in, and then changing a couple things in here. So this one's named kunode2, and the IP address is going to be 22, and that's all we need to change in here. And then we need to go edit the Kubernetes configuration. And then this one, we're literally just going to copy and paste this whole thing, and that's going to be it. So I don't think there's anything in here that's particular to this node. It's just the master configuration. Yep. Save that, and we'll do NixOS install. Move. See, it'll tell you if there's a configuration problem. So in this case, we misspelled Kubernetes. So we'll do NixOS install again, and this should be fine. So we'll let it install. We'll reboot node 1. And we'll wait for node 1 to reboot here. All right, so node 1 is started up, so we should be able to connect to that one. So the IP address is .21. Yes. Demo, yep, now we're in. Now node 2, we'll go ahead and wait for that to finish. All right, we'll put in the root password again. All right, and then we'll reboot. If we go look at node 2, it should be rebooting. Yep. And we're starting the default. All right, so node 2 is booted up. We should be able to log in that by going to IP address .22. All right, and we're into node 2. So we've got everything installed on all these nodes. Except if we go look at get nodes, we only have the master here. So now we need to join these two nodes to the master node. So if we look here according to these instructions, so we need to go get the API token secret from the master. So we'll go ahead and cat that. And copy that. And then what we need to do is echo token NixOS Kubernetes join node. So we'll go ahead and run that on node 1. Echo, and then NixOS Kubernetes node join. Hi, Future Ryan here. I'm just going to fast forward through this section here. I accidentally set up the host file incorrectly, and you'll see that here in a second. So that's working. Let's do kube master. Oh, well, that'll do it. So the host file is incorrect. So yeah, it's supposed to be the other way around. Oops. So we'll fix the extra hosts here on all 3 servers. There we go. Mistakes are made. So we'll go ahead and copy this and we'll fix all the servers. So, and then we need to do NixOS rebuild switch. And then the same thing on the other ones. Okay, so this is updated. This is updating. Alright, so now if we do the curl, it should work. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now we want to go back and join the cluster again, or try to. There we go, now it's working. And then we'll want to go run this on node 2 as well. So if we do here, we do keep ctl get nodes again. Node 1 should show up here in a second. There we go, node 1 not ready, so it's getting ready. That's fine, we'll go ahead and join node 2. Let's run it again. There we go, so that time it joined successfully. We should see node 2 pop up here in just a second. Alright, so now we've got 2 nodes showing up. They should be able to talk to each other just fine. But we are going to go install a demo now. So if we go look at, there was a Rancher demo that I've seen recently that I quite like. Let's see if it's here. Here it is. Okay, so unfortunately here they don't have a example. So it says that there's an example here. See, edit base config source vars. But as you can see, there's nothing in here. So we'll just go ahead and do this ourselves. So if we do, let's just go look up Kubernetes deployment. And we'll just copy this example here. So we'll copy this. And we'll do nano rancher demo.yaml. Ports, container port. Let's say this is, I think this is 8080, and then we'll name it web, and then we'll want to change this. So this is Rancher demo. We'll replace all these Nginx's with Rancher demo. Rancher demo. All right, deployment Rancher demo. And we need to change this image name is going to be let's see, where is this? Let's go look for this on Docker Hub. Yep, here it is. So we'll just do image Rancher demo :latest. And I'm pretty sure this listens on port 8080. Ports, yep, port 8080. Okay, so container port 8080, name web. And then we also want to add a service to here. So let's go look up Kubernetes services. And we want a node port. Is there an example for a node port in here? Yes, here we go. Okay, so we'll get rid of these comments. Actually, let me take this name port out of here. I don't know if that's entirely correct or not. So name, we'll name this Rancher demo service. Selector is going to be app Rancher demo. Target port is going to be 8080. So this is a nuance of Kubernetes. So target port is the port in the container that you're going to expose. Port is going to be internal to Kubernetes. If you were to say use curl or something, what port it would make available for this host name. And then node port is the port it's going to expose on every single node. So with this, we should be able to deploy this app. And then also make it available on each node on port 30,007. And then one thing we're also going to change is replicas to 10. So now we should be able to apply this kubectl apply -f rancher demo. All right, so deployment created, service created. Now we can do kubectl get pods. We should see 10 pods, and we get error image pulls. That means we don't have something right with the name here. So image. Let's see. Should be the TAM. What are the tags? Oh, they don't have a latest tag, that's why. So we'll do 1.0.17. So we should be able to just apply this again and have it update. So if we do kubectl get pods, see, they should all fix themselves. So we've got one in crash loop backoff. I'm not sure what that is about, but let's see. Let's see if we can go ahead and get to this now. So if we go to 192.168.42.20 and we want to go to 30,007. All right, so here we go. We're starting to get these. They're all running. All right, so now you can see we've got, it's just basically what Kubernetes is doing is every time you make a request, it's going to randomly send, or not necessarily randomly, but it's going to distribute the requests across the available pods, regardless of what server you ping. So if we actually do kubectl get pods wide, it should tell us what server it's on. Yep, so see we've got a couple on kubemaster, we've got some on node 2, and we've got some more on node 1. And so basically they're all running an individual server. So obviously this is the master node and we're getting 8 replicas. So we're getting, more than what's on the master server. And then same thing if we go to 21, which is node 1, we should get the same thing. Yep, we got that. And then again, if we go to 22, we're getting more nodes. So everything appears to be working. Networking between the nodes is working, and the clusters themselves are working. Looks like the containers are having some kind of issues. Some are crashing. I don't know why, but this is just a demo anyway. So the fact that it's working even with some pods crashing is actually pretty great. So we'll just leave it at that. Hopefully when you deploy your own app, it's not crashing. If it's crashing, there's probably something wrong with it. I'm guessing there's something wrong with this newer version that's deployed in Docker Hub. So anyway, that's how you set up a Kubernetes cluster using NixOS and using the declarative configuration. I hope this gave you a lot of information on not only how to set up a Kubernetes cluster, but also the advantages of using NixOS for a server setup like this. Anyway, thanks again for joining, and have a great evening.